Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about the Scopes trial, or the monkey trial as it is sort of colloquially known. It's a really interesting case in American history because it's this precarious balance between science and modernism and the religious heritage of the United States and the way that that should be played out in a public school setting particularly. In 1925, it's during the summer of 1925 when this happened, there was a young teacher, only 24 years old, named John T. Scopes. And basically, he introduced the theory of evolution to his students. And whether he was actually planning on teaching it or not, or simply because he wanted to be basically the face of this, or was encouraged to be the face of this movement to see legally where the limit was on what could and couldn't be taught. He agreed to that, right? So he introduced the theory of evolution to his students, right? And this is something that's actually specified in certain newspapers, such as the Evening Star, that he wasn't necessarily teaching it as scientific fact, or at least that's the way that it's reported in the newspaper. But nonetheless, he's fined basically what the modern day equivalent is of $1,500. And it's not so much about the punishment that was eventually overthrown because of a technicality as it is about the debate that's happening. There is another source here. Let me pull up the exact newspaper so I can get it right for you guys. It is the it's a Dayton news, or it's about everything in Dayton, by the New York Times, right? And it's basically arguing like this is a duel to the death, if evolution wins, Christianity goes, and it says both cannot survive in big letters. It's like very fear-mongering to a certain extent, but you can sort of see where the fear would come from, where it's this scary new idea that they hadn't really dealt with legally in that sense before in the public school setting. So one of the things that made the profile of the case even higher was that William Jennings Bryan, who was a 3-time presidential candidate before this, served on the prosecution, which is, very, it almost seems unnecessary, but it brought a lot of publicity to the case. And then Clarence Darrow, I may be pronouncing that wrong, was on the defense for the case. They're both great speakers, a very publicized trial throughout the entire process. Like I said, ultimately, Scopes gets off on a technicality, and despite the New York Times publishing that this is a fight to the death, one way or the other, ultimately, I would say, after this trial, there isn't any clear-cut winner one way or the other, because it's not like they said, oh, Scopes, you were totally in the right, let's teach evolution everywhere, which is sort of what they made it sound like might happen. But obviously, in the fullness of time, teaching became a normal practice. So it's not like fundamentalism, because I don't know if I mentioned right that that was the expression that they used, that it was fundamentalist versus modernist. Philosophically, theologically, these are the ideas that are being thrown around. But obviously, in the fullness of time, evolution became normal teaching. So you could argue that ultimately the modernists won this. But I would say the Scopes trial is more an important initial chapter and not the conclusion of everything. But it's a very fascinating case, nonetheless, with William Jennings Bryan and Clarence Darrow getting involved and really heightening the appeal of the whole case in a public sense. I enjoyed learning about this, and I hope you guys did too. Thanks.